The healthy guy screams in anger to get his bread back. After seeing it, Durand starts to smirk, showing some evil intent. After some time, both of the people got their faces swollen. The slim guy asks Durand whether he is referring to the mysterious thief who is actually a wizard. Durand demands to hear what they were talking about before that. The guy questions whether he would start from when they were talking the north or the third must have moved here. Durand replies that he wants to hear what they were talking about between these two things, while giving a cruel smile. It scares the hell out of the person in front of him. The person asks whether he is referring to this city which is dominated by P-2. Durand says that he wants to know more about P-2. So he tells them to reveal everything they know about P-2. In the next scene, we see a factory where some workers are working. A person wearing a black cloth in his head, who is also the person in charge to look after the work, yells at the workers, telling them they must complete today's quota or else they will get nothing to eat. Suddenly, an old man wobbles and falls along with all the things he was carrying. Another fellow worker calls this old man by Chief Ben. The person in charge beats the old man from behind and whips his weapon on the old man's back countless times. Suddenly, a being who looks somewhat like a raccoon, but exactly known as Banians, appears and stops the assault. The person in charge stops and staggers in anger, but leaves without creating a scene. As he is going back, he tells the old man that he is lucky today. "Grandma Ben, are you all right?" The Banian named P-2 asks. Ben states that he has always been a burden to P-2. The Banian tells Ben not to worry about that and asks about Ben's injuries. Ben replies that he just slipped while walking, so it's nothing to worry about. After this, another old man with white beard appears and shouts at P-2, telling him to go back to his seat because even if it's him, he can't goof around, and he won't be safe either. P-2 clenches his teeth and goes back to his workplace. After sitting in his seat, he starts to squeak. After some time, P-2 helps Ben to bandage his body. Ben states that he is extremely sorry that P-2 always has to help them all the time. P-2 humbly replies that he does it, on his own accord, so they don't have to be sorry for that. The other workers agree with Ben by saying that they also feel sorry, because P-2 has to live as a slave for them. After hearing this, P-2 grins as he states that he just doesn't want to leave his family behind. Suddenly, a clacking nose is heard, and the old man with white beard appears telling P-2 that P-2 is looking for him. After reaching P-2's room, P-2 asks P-2 why he has called him at this hour. P-2 states that he has heard that P-2 has stopped the custodian to protect Ben today. He says that even if P-2 is his brother, he can't break the rules like that. P-2 says that the word brother coming out of P-2 doesn't suit him. Moreover, he says that he already knows that P-2 is just after his abilities and nothing more, calling P-2 a traitor. Huh? A traitor? P-2 repeats as he brings out his gun to shoot an electric bullet which makes P-2 immovable for a while. When will you stop deluding yourself into thinking humans are our family? P-2 asks. He tells P-2 not to forget that the people out there are always ready to betray the creature like them. In addition, he tells P-2 to remember what their tribe, the Banians, have to grow through living in Stioden. Lastly, P-2 leaves calling P-2 a stupid little brother. In his workplace, he wonders what went wrong, because the brother he knew was never like that. Suddenly, he hears some noise of something crashing. As he turns around, he sees a light and asks who is there. He wonders whether something dropped or was it a person. He grabs his gun and starts to walk. He thinks that the shielding equipment of this place is already active, so he doubts anyone can get in here. He looks in the place where the sound came from, but there is nothing. In the back, we see our MC Durand trying to escape without getting caught. Did he just run away? P-2 wonders, but then he senses someone in his back and immediately pulls the trigger to fire. The gun P-2 is using is a net gun, or can also be called a web gun, which creates a web to capture people. Durand uses a wind spell to spin and black the web. What the heat did you do that for? Durand asks as he reveals his face. By seeing Durand using magic, P-2 guesses that Durand must be the rumored mysterious thief, who is also a wizard. While scratching his hair, Durand says that he thought that he wouldn't be noticed this time. Aren't you the burglar who's rumored to have devastated the North? P-2 asks as he shouts due to astonishment. Durand yells that he is not a burglar since he stole nothing. After some time, both of them settled down. P-2 says that he wants to know why Durand came to be known as the mysterious thief. Durand replies that he is looking for something, and he thought that he could find it in Quastasia. But he couldn't. He says that there's nothing but a pack of steel for combat here, it's simply a factory. At some moment, P-2 thinks that maybe he can use some help from Durand. So, he decides to take this opportunity. He says that he can make what Durand wants. Whatever it is, he can make it, and of course he will provide the best quality, while pointing out the creations he has made so far. Durand replies that he appreciates P-2's kind offer, but he is sorry to tell P-2 that he is looking for something that can't be made. After hearing this, P-2 asks Durand how he can be so sure about that. Durand says that he is looking for the ancient magic scroll that helps the transmission of monster. P-2 replies that it's not something anyone can make. Durand says that he already knows that it's not something P-2 can make. P-2 gives a determined look as he clenches his hand. As Durand is about to head out, P-2 states that he can't make it, but he knows someone who might know where it is. Durand gives a cold look as he demands to know the person who knows about the scroll. Inside the factory, the workers are having a chat with Ben. They say that they can't live like these forever, and they have to escape even if it means fighting. Or at least they have to get P-2 out of here. Because P-2 is a small kid who is just suffering because of them. At that moment, P-2 dashes happily from the gate along with Durand while calling Grandpa Ben. The name Ben feels familiar to Durand. Ben asks for the identity of their new guest and also asks about what happened to the guards at this place. Durand questions Ben whether he is referring to these sleepyheads who are already knocked out. Ben seems quite shocked and many questions weigh in his mind. Durand says that he understands that it's all so sudden, but firstly, he greets all of them by saying nice to meet you all. He sits on the chair as he speaks that since the greetings are done, he will get to the point. I heard you know something about the ancient magic scroll, is that true? He asks. Meanwhile, P-2 whispers to Ben, introducing their new guest. P-2 whispers that the person sitting in front is the mysterious thief who's rumored to have devastated the northern area of Quastasia. So, if they say the right thing, he might help them escape. Without lingering, Ben states that he knows the location where the ancient magic scroll could be. Durand jolts in happiness as he asks for the place. Ben replies that he will help, but in one condition, and the condition is that Durand should take P-2 with him. P-2 straight up rejects the condition by saying that he can't leave everybody behind. Ben speaks on behalf of all of them. He says that they can't let P-2 keep making weapons to protect them, and they can't owe him forever. P-2 says that even if he runs away from here, P-2 won't leave them alone. Ben couldn't look straight while saying that everyone made this decision. The Banyan says that he also falls in the category of everyone but nobody asked his opinion, whether he wants to leave them or not. He shouts, saying that they are all family and he can't leave his family behind to survive by themselves. The word family brings the past memories of Durand, which are still not forgotten. The way his father and mother were murdered still hurts him. He again scratches his hair, while telling P-2 that if he doesn't want to leave alone, then it will be best to leave this place along with everyone here. Ben asks Durand whether he has a plan for it, because if everyone escapes, then P-2 will definitely notice. Durand grins as he says that Ben is right, and everyone will definitely notice. So he has an ingenious plan. He says, while pointing upwards, that since everyone will notice regardlessly, It's best to deliver a frontal attack. Everybody gets flabbergasted to the point that they can't speak and halt for a moment. Durand thinks that they don't understand what a frontal attack is, so he starts to explain it. He says that they are going to attack from the front. Everyone understands. P-2 conveys that it's impossible since they don't even have weapons. Durand reminds P-2 by saying that they have plenty of weapons since P-2 was the one making them. P-2 remembers that they have the Lukmaton, referring to a machine. The workers' morale increases as they say that they just can't run away, so they should make P-2 pay for all of his deeds. Durand tells Ben that he shouldn't just stand there doing nothing because he is old. Durand advises Ben to fight with anything in his hands, since they're running out of people here. Suddenly, Ben's countenance changes as he speaks that he will give it his all, with utmost confidence and seriousness. Suddenly, a person comes running to his boss, informing him that they are in trouble since the slaves raised a riot and are heading towards them. At that moment, the wall cracks, and Durand with the fellow workers enters the area. Durand tells the workers to take any weapon they see here. The officer in charge of protecting this place asks how they can betray the organization who gave them food and a bed to sleep. He states that no one can get out of here, and his whole team points guns at the workers. Durand grins, saying that it's nice, and P-2 charges using Lukmaton. Durand states that he also has no plans to let them leave this place nicely. P-2 deals with the officers with ease using a Lukmaton. The head officer screams at his men, asking them what the hell they are doing and to block the attacks immediately. He says to the men that if they let the villagers go, P-2 won't be happy with them and instructs them to reorganize formation. The head officers instructs the men to open fire at the villagers and to kill them all. Durand grins and uses the powers to stop all the bullets and teases the enemies, saying, "These stupid bullets aren't enough to hurt me." The head officer gets shocked at the sight of Durand defending with the wind and says, then Durand must be the mysterious thief wizard who devastated the North. Durand, while smiling, says he is indeed. One of the enemies runs off after hearing Durand is a wizard. Next, all the men start to run, and the head officer calls them a holes and says, "If you run away now." But before he could finish, Durand uses his wind power and very swiftly moves right in front of the head officer and says what he will do if the men run away. The head officer gets scared at how fast Durand can move. Durand punches the officer so hard that he goes in the air for a few moments and lands very hard on the ground. Durand then, with a smirk on his face, says that he had already told them that he had no plans to let the enemies leave nicely. Durand then chases after the other officers, who were running. The old man goes right in front of the head officer with a very ominous look on his face. In the meantime, Durand had taken care of the other men who were running. The villager says they are almost done, and that they have got their weapons, and now they only need to go through the door in front of them to get out of the place through the auction room. Durand says that the door looks too sturdy, and asks how they should destroy it. P-2 on his Lukmaton says he'll give it a try. He pushes the Lukmaton to its limits, but is unable to destroy the door. P-2 then says that the door is more sturdy than he thought, as even a Lukmaton is unable to destroy it. The old man asks Durand why he is so worried about it. Durand thinks in his mind that the old man looks familiar, but doubts whether it's the same person. Durand asks P-2 whether he thinks that the old man has different vibes at the moment. The old man walks past P-2 and Durand towards the door. Durand says that the old man looks different from before, and he thinks that the old man is hiding some power. P-2 asks whether he is asking about his Grandpa Ben, referring to the old man, and says he doubts his Grandpa Ben is hiding powers. The old man only clicks on something on the door, and the door immediately opens. P-2 says to Durand that Grandpa Ben was hiding the power to open the door, but Durand doesn't say anything. They all go through the door. P-2 tells Durand that the place they are now in is the black market representing southern Quastasia, known as Kratia. Durand asks where the way out is, but before he could get his answer, some pillars drop from above in front of them, and they get trapped. Suddenly, they all hear a sound, a voice speaking, saying, "You've been disappointing me by standing on the side of humans, and now you have started a riot. I couldn't be more disappointed in you." After this, suddenly, a huge robotic machine drops from above, right in front of them, and P-2 is controlling it. P-2 says to P-2, "You already know what humans did to our tribe, and you still trust them, P-2." Durand asks whether P-2 knows him and whether he is an acquaintance or something. P-2 replies, saying P-2 is his brother, and the guys who are locked up in that place are the villagers who invited them to live together with them when they were wandering Stioden. Durand says that P-2 is an a-hole as he is repaying kindness with evil. P-2 says to everyone that as they now know who he is, he doesn't have any reason to let them live. Durand gets angry and says he will kick P-2's ass. But Ben, the old man, stops him and says he doesn't have to and tells him to stand back. P-2 screams at the old man saying it's dangerous, but Durand stops him saying that Ben will be fine and to just trust him. P-2 asks what if he ends up dying. Durand says he seriously doubts that. Ben goes right in front of P-2 and says it's been a long time since they have met. P-2 tells Ben what he thinks he can possibly do and says he'll kill him first as an example. Suddenly, Ben fires a gun and immediately knocks out some officers who were standing nearby with a single shot. Ben then calls the officers and P-2 spoiled brats and says they shouldn't point guns at an elderly man. Durand tells P-2 that he already told him Ben was hiding powers. P-2 asks Durand whether he knew already, and Durand replies saying he wasn't sure at first when he heard his name, but now he knows he's the one. The guy who raised him, referring to Uncle Horner, had told Durand about some guy when he was little, a guy who is normally gentle but goes crazy if he grabs a gun. The colleague of Captain Eve, the legendary sky pirate, Ben Avdia, the gunslinger. Durand tells P-2 about the time when Uncle Horner had told him about Ben. He remembers the past when Uncle Horner tells Durand the notorious and legendary pirate Captain Eve was the leader of the Sky Pirates. Every one of its members had great ability, enough to be called legendary. However, among them was a pirate who was exceptionally combatant and was difficult for even Eve, the captain, to handle. His name was Ben Avdia, an old friend of Uncle Horner. Uncle Horner tells Durand, Ben Avdia, the gunslinger, as his nickname suggests, was skilled in gunmanship. Uncle Horner had once asked him if a revolver or a rifle was easier for him to handle, and he had replied in a bad way, saying it doesn't matter as long as it has a trigger. At that time, Durand was younger and wasn't fascinated a lot by this. Uncle Horner had told him that Ben was feared, but not because of that reason. The actual reason people were terrified of him was because when he grabs a gun, he becomes a totally different person. Normally, Ben is kind and gentle, but becomes a vicious animal whenever he grabs a gun, and a wild and crazy animal at that. Durand had yawned at that time as he was very uninterested regarding this topic, as Uncle Horner would talk about Ben whenever he had a chance and wouldn't answer Durand's questions. Uncle Horner then asked him what Durand's question was. Durand had asked, who was stronger among them, Uncle Horner or Ben? Uncle Horner smirked and answered, "Of course, me." Durand stares in awe at the absolute destruction Ben is causing in the current moment and ponders on Uncle Horner's answer, saying Uncle Horner had told him he was stronger than whatever Ben is doing. He says what Uncle Horner had told him was wrong. He gets shocked to see the sheer destruction he can cause with just a revolver. Ben taunts the guard, saying, "Is this it? You youngsters are too weak to be useful." Two guards attempt to attack Ben, telling each other that Ben only has a revolver and to aim for the moment when he loads the gun. Ben puts bullets in both of their heads while saying he's shooting with mana, so he doesn't have to load the revolver. Ben laughs hysterically while screaming he's going to kill all the enemies. The villagers and Durand get shocked at the destruction. The villagers all scream in unison, "Chief, destroy them all!" Ben suddenly fires shots at their feet and tells them to shut up and that he can't hear the gunshots because of them. The villagers say they don't know what Ben meant by that, but they feel like they shouldn't talk back. Ben kills all the guards until it is only P-2 left. P-2 asks Ben that if he wasn't an ordinary old man, then why hadn't he tried to escape until now with his amazing skill? Ben replies, "When educating children, you only use corporal punishment when you have no more proper solutions left, and I can't educate my kid by shooting holes in his body. They say no child should be hit, not even with a flower." P-2 gets angry at this and attacks Ben, saying how dare he, a human, speak to him like that as if he is P-2's father. Ben easily dodges all of P-2's attacks. P-2 tells Ben to stop it and tells him not to forget how much they have suffered at the hands of humans. During the fight, P-2's blows land on the ground, and this sends shrapnel flying towards the villagers. The villagers scream to lie face down. However, Durand uses his wind powers to stop all the shrapnel. The villagers thank Durand. Ben fires his revolver and tells P-2 how dare he talk back to his father. Ben's back suddenly starts to hurt. P-2 jumps, dodging the shot, and tells Ben that he isn't P-2's father. P-2 goes to attack Ben but gets stopped by P-2. He asks whether Ben is all right, and Ben replies saying he can't hide his age. P-2 screams at P-2 asking him what the hell he is doing. P-2 replies asking the same thing, saying, "What the hell are you doing? How long are you going to keep frolicking with humans? Are those humans more important than your own brother?" P-2 says that his family is P-2, Ben, whom he calls Grandpa Ben and the villagers. P-2 and P-2 clash with each other in their machines. P-2 tells P-2 to wake up and tells him he wasn't like this before and asks him what happened to his old self. P-2 thwarts P-2 with his machine and screams at him, telling him to stop talking about the past. P-2 falls off from his Lukmaton. The villagers get angered at this and rush P-2, but are able to do little to no damage. One of the villagers tells P-2 to run away and tells him that they'll block him even if they die. But ironically, he gets knocked off immediately after right in front of P-2. Durand thinks to himself that maybe a frontal attack was a bad idea and that he should get out of there after getting his required information from Ben. Suddenly, someone call him using his full name from behind. Durand turns around to see it's Ben, and he asks Ben how he knows his name and what happened to his back. Ben says, Durand looks just like Raya, his mom. Durand, surprised, asks him how he knew his mom. Ben says Durand is making a mess in every single black market, searching for the ancient magic scroll to find Vernard, Raya's monster, and asks whether he is right. A villager screams, saying if Durand wants the information, this is his chance. Ben tells Durand to protest his villagers, and in case he says no to him, he won't give Durand anything. Meanwhile, P-2 is relentlessly fighting with the villagers, calling them bastards. Durand says Ben is not even giving him a choice. Durand uses his power to protect a villager and tells Ben to keep his promise while concentrating his mana. P-2 says Durand is the wizard rumored to be making all that fuss. He asks how Durand got in that place. Durand, while grinning, says why will he try it if he tells him. This makes P-2 angry, and he jumps in the air in his machine to attack Durand while calling Durand an a-hole and tells him who he thinks he is talking to. P-2 attacks Durand, but Durand dodges it, and P-2 makes a huge hole in the wall behind Durand as he missed the attack. Durand uses his wind power on P-2, which causes him to skid backwards. Durand tells the villagers now's their chance to escape through the hole in the wall. P-2 escorts the villagers outside the hole. P-2 tries to attack the escaping villagers while screaming, asking where they are going, but his mechanical arm gets cut off as Durand threw the boomerang Uncle Horner had given him. Durand calls P-2 a raccoon with a tattoo and says there's something he wants to know. Meanwhile, P-2 and all the other villagers escape, but P-2 doesn't feel good leaving like this. Ben asks him whether he thinks it'd make any difference if P-2 goes back. P-2 says no, but he just doesn't think it's right to run away like this. Ben says to P-2 then what he is doing there and tells him to go back. He says if that's his thought, he doesn't have to waste time persuading them. He thanks his grandpa Ben and heads back. The villager whose back Ben is on asks Ben whether P-2 will be all right. Ben replies, saying he doubts it, and says he will be lucky if he doesn't die. The villager then calls Ben irresponsible and asks then why he let P-2 go back. Ben laughs hysterically and says P-2 said he didn't think it was right to run away. Can't the villager see? Meanwhile, P-2 and Durand are having a brutal fight. Durand notices a pattern on the Lukmatan P-2 is using, which is the same as the pattern his dad's murderer had. Durand dodges all of P-2's attacks. P-2 gets frustrated and asks how long Durand will keep running away like rats. Durand asks a counter question, asking him how long is he going to keep beating around the bush. He asks P-2 where he got that tattoo. Durand attacked P-2 using his wind power, but it barely affects P-2, and Durand gets frustrated as nothing works against him, and he asks how a Lukmatan be that strong. But he ponders on the question he himself asked and says the Lukmatan cannot be that strong, and he wonders whether it's the pattern which makes it so strong, because if not, nothing makes sense. P-2 rushes to attack Durand, but Durand dodges the attack. Durand thinks to himself that P-2 doesn't listen if he tries to talk to him, so he'll have to beat him up to find out anything, and for now, all he can do is trap P-2. Suddenly, somehow P-2 gets behind Durand and gives an evil smirk while saying he got Durand. Durand gets confused as to how he got behind him and gets nervous. Suddenly, P-2 arrives and jumps onto where P-2 is sitting on the Lukmatan and distracts him and screams at Durand, telling him now's the chance for him. Durand gets shocked to see P-2 and asks him what he is doing here, as he gave P-2 time to run away and why he came back. P-2 says that's not important at the moment and now is his chance. Durand asks P-2 now is his chance for what? To kill P-2? P-2 tells Durand not to kill P-2, but to dominate him. P-2 grabs P-2 and throws him off. P-2 enters a rage mode and says he will kill them all and initiates a punch at Durand while saying he will pay for the mess he has made. Durand, while concentrating his power, says P-2 is the one who has made a mess, not him, and calls P-2 an ugly raccoon. Durand blocks the punch with his wind power by creating a shield, but notices that there is a crack in the shield. The shield breaks, and Durand slides back due to the force created when the shield broke. Durand says he can't use any spells stronger than that again. P-2 teases Durand by saying it looks like he has nothing left, and says he will now deliver the last blow and tells Durand to say goodbye while calling him a rookie. Suddenly, a huge power surge occurs as the Shellcrino in Durand's chest gets activated. Both Durand and P-2 get confused as to what is happening. The Shellcrino's power strikes P-2's Lukmatan and completely destroys it, throwing P-2 off it. Durand sighs in relief, but says he is not sure as to what just happened, but they should be able to talk to P-2 now. He goes near P-2 and asks him what the pattern is. P-2 asks what Durand is talking about. Durand scratches his head while saying P-2 always beats around the bush whenever he asks P-2. He then, in a scary way, asks P-2 where he got that tattoo on his chest. After that, P-2 enters a rage and roars at Durand and P-2, which scares both of them.